Part 33. My villain wants to clear his name, but he awakens Cao Thief Simulator. Author, Fangzone Womeng. Chapter 321. One way, two ways, three ways. As Suliang controls more and more flames, the mental consumption becomes more and more huge. He has to multitask, control different flames, and drive the Taoism to follow nature to find new flame control. Gradually, a trace of sweat broke out on Suliang's forehead, his face gradually turned pale, his body was trembling slightly, and he was becoming more and more strenuous. But all this was seen by Mu Qingqian, who was standing by. Senior brother Su asked me to protect the way, so he must have found a way to break the situation. But seeing that senior brother Su is in such a state, this method will definitely cause a lot of damage. If he stays in this state for a long time, even senior brother Su may damage his foundation and even fall short in the end. So, maybe I should help senior brother Su. Thinking in her mind, Mu Qingqian kept thinking. After a moment, she bit her red lips and finally made up her mind. Then, Mu Qingqian sheathed her sword, opened her arms, and hugged Suliang. This unexpected hug made Suliang wake up and looked at Mu Qingqian in confusion. Junior sister Mu, what are you? Hearing Suliang's voice, Mu Qingqian's body trembled slightly, obviously not used to such close contact with the opposite sex. After a while, Mu Qingqian then said softly, Senior brother Su, don't think too much. My own physique has a certain effect. It can help senior brother to calm down his mind and keep his spiritual platform clear. Looking at senior brother's state just now, I think that senior brother's secret method must be very labor intensive. Since we are in such contact, my physique should be able to help senior brother. Sticking stickers actually has such an effect? This physique is really a bit magical. Suliang looked at Mu Qingqian in surprise, and felt that the world was full of wonders. Before, he had his own Hunyuan Chunyang Taoist body, which was already a foul. Now, he has such a magical physique as Mu Qingqian. Feeling Suliang's slightly surprised look, Mu Qingqian blushed slightly, lowered her head shyly, and just urged, Senior brother Su, the situation is critical now. Senior brother, should you speed up the progress? Oh, okay. Suliang nodded quickly. To be honest, Mu Qingqian's delicate body was soft. When they hugged her, even though Mu Qingqian didn't exert much force, the proud peaks of her chest were still pressed against Suliang's body, making them a perfect fit. If the situation wasn't critical, with this kind of warm and fragrant nephrite in his arms, Suliang really didn't know whether he should let go or enjoy it. Boom! A burst of martial arts skills were fired. The Holy Sun looked at the formation barrier that was still strong and showed no signs of fragmentation. He frowned slightly and said, change positions and fight on the other side. As a result, a group of geniuses followed the Holy Sun and changed their positions. After a while, the formation barrier seems to be stronger here, keep changing positions. The Holy Sun frowned and said, leading a group of geniuses to change positions again, after several times. Boom! After the last martial arts attack, all the geniuses looked at the motionless formation barrier with a little despair. It didn't take a moment for them to take action. The last bit of true energy in the body was squeezed out, and even the true energy that protected the body was almost consumed. But, in the end, it was still useless. He kept taking action, but he encountered obstacles at every turn. Many of the geniuses even died because of the eruption of flames. Why can't it be defeated? Even though all the power has been gathered in the dragon's cave, why can't it find a way out? Why is this broken formation so strong? Are you really going to die here today? Could it be that I can never go out again, never return to the sect, and see Master and the others? Qingqian, I'm sorry, I couldn't take you out. Taking a step back and letting out a long breath, even the Holy Sun was beginning to despair at this moment. But just when everyone is in despair, a strong fluctuation suddenly spread from behind everyone. Everyone hurriedly looked back and saw at a glance that Suliang was holding a long sword that exuded a sacred aura, standing alone in the middle of the dragon cave. But around him, there were countless flames flowing towards the long sword in his hand. After the hard work of Suliang and Mu Qingqian, and after Suliang was close to failure several times, Tao followed the natural way and finally succeeded. All fires will fall. Suliang groaned softly, and immediately, the countless flames boiling in the dragon cave were all controlled by him, and they were controlled by him and rushed towards the sword in his hand. The flame is the fire of thousands of fires and hundreds of refinements, and the sword is the sacred artifact Reizo. Only a sacred object like Reizo can contain all the fire in one's body and turn it into one's own use. Boom! Suliang contained the sea of fire in Lei Zhang and used it for his own use. As Lei Zhang waved, thunder and fire surged with terrifying force. A destructive aura gradually emanated from Lei Zhang, making people tremble with fear. Taking a step forward, Suliang's figure appeared in the sky, stroking the sword in his hand. As the sword buzzed, Suliang and the sword's fluctuations gradually became consistent, and slowly, he entered the posture of man and sword uniting. Then, at this moment, Suliang's aura gradually rose, and thunder and fire surged and circled around him, exuding a destructive mood. At this moment, he appeared in the sky, standing above the sky, exuding great pressure, even the space could hardly bear it. This scene was like a god coming into the world, making all the geniuses in the room look up and respect him. Suddenly, cut! Suliang drank lightly, and then slashed out with his sword. All of a sudden, the power of thunder and fire surged above the sword light, and was melted together with the sword's aura of no regrets. It was sublimated to the fullest, and at this moment it bloomed with the most brilliant brilliance. Click! There was a sound of shattering, and under the light of thunder, fire, and swords, in the void in front of everyone, cracks like broken glass appeared one after another, and in just the blink of an eye, they spread to the entire dragon cave. The broken lines were one after another, ferocious and terrifying. It looked as if the space could not bear the sword, and it was broken into pieces that could not be repaired. Next moment, the wingspan of the formation covering the dragon cave was completely shattered. The flames disappeared and the dragon cave returned to clarity. However, the geniuses couldn't care less. In their eyes at this moment, they only saw the young man in the sky who cut through the formation with his sword. That sword that seemed to destroy the world, together with that figure, was completely imprinted in everyone's hearts and could not be dissipated for a long time. Call! Suliang in the sky breathed a sigh of relief. Finally, saved. Sheathing the sword, Suliang landed on the ground, let out a long breath, looked at the proud men, and said softly, "Let's go out." The sword just struck out with the help of the right time, the right place, the right people, and even Suliang felt a little tired. However, at this moment, the geniuses were still immersed in the shock caused by the previous sword, and could not say a word. After a while, only then did the geniuses come to their senses, bowed neatly to Suliang, and respectfully said, "Thank you, Brother Su, for saving your life." If it hadn't been for Suliang's sword that cut through the formation just now, they would have exhausted their true energy at this moment, fell into the fire, and been refined into ashes. Although Suliang cut through the 10,000 fires and hundreds of refining formation with one sword to save himself, for these proud men, this is undoubtedly a life-saving grace. What a great kindness! At this moment, Suliang can be said to be the savior of the whole people. Not only these proud men, but also the Holy Sun was dumbfounded when looking at Suliang at this moment. A small sex genius actually has such a powerful cultivation strength. The shocking talent of the sword just now is so stunning that even I, the Taoist saint, cannot compare with it. And before, because of Mukinkian's incident, he had always been hostile to him and even had a fight with him. But what happened was that Suliang turned the tide and saved all of their lives when he had already despaired. Volume 1 Chapter 300 Fatal Crisis, The Murderous Intention of the Enchanting Beautiful Woman. For a while, in the heart of the Holy Sun, he had mixed feelings about Suliang, which was difficult to explain. "You don't have to be polite, I'm just trying to save myself." Suliang shook his head and walked towards the exit of the dragon cave. "Let's get out of here as soon as possible." Outside the dragon cave, the power of Suliang's sword was extremely terrifying. With the help of the power of the holy artifact Reizo and the Sea of Fire, Suliang's sword was far beyond the limit of strength in the immortal realm. So, after that sword was slashed out, even the earth trembled. After the earth trembled, the formation shattered, and the Tianjiao trapped in it walked out one after another, looked at the clear sky, and let out a long breath. Finally, survived. But when the mysterious black figure saw this scene, he froze in place. How is it possible? The plan we laid out should be seamless. How could it be disrupted? The mysterious black shadow was quite surprised and said with shock on his face. As the person who executes it, she knows very well the power of the 10,000 fires and hundreds of refining formation. It cannot be destroyed by the ordinary immortality realm. Even, in order to prevent those among the geniuses from being too evil, they also enhance the power of the 10,000 fire 100 refining array, making it more indestructible, which is completely beyond the limit of the ability of the immortal realm. Therefore, how could anyone break this 10,000 fires and hundreds of refining formation? He looked back and forth among the geniuses, and soon, the mysterious black shadow locked onto Suliang among the crowd. His body was still surrounded by thunder, fire, and sword intent. This artistic conception was full of the aura of destruction and destruction, which was exactly the same as the aura that was revealed when the earth trembled just now. Obviously, it was him who destroyed the 10,000 fires 100 refining formation. How dare you destroy the 10,000 fires and hundreds of refining formation and disrupt our plans? Boy, you are seeking death. The mysterious black shadow shouted angrily, and then took action decisively, punching Suliang from a distance. This punch is extremely powerful. Even if the distance is very far, a lot of power is lost in the process, but it is not something that can be achieved by ordinary immortals. The fist wind was extremely fast, like breaking through space. It hit Suliang's eyes in an instant, and was about to hit Suliang. If Suliang was hit by this punch, he would probably never be lucky again. But at this moment, Suliang was about to sit down and rest for a while when his body suddenly trembled. Then, he subconsciously moved to the side and narrowly avoided the punch. Boom! The fist wind bombarded the ground, blasting out a huge pit that looked like an abyss, and in an instant, the geniuses around him were thrown away. My villain wants to clear his name, but he awakens Cao Thief Simulator. Author, Fangzone Womang. Chapter 322. No matter who the person is, his target must be me. Suliang instantly judged the truth of the matter. Feeling the huge sense of crisis lingering around him, Suliang's expression gradually became serious, and, I am no match for the sneak attack. After thinking this, Suliang decisively started to run away without saying a word. Before leaving, he shouted to Mu Qingqian, "Junior sister Mu, I'm going to attract firepower and lead that person away. You quickly go back to Master and the others for help. The speed must be fast. You and I are no match for that person. If time passes, I'm afraid I won't be able to hold on." The words fell. Before Mu Qingqian could react, Suliang's figure had disappeared. The dragon cave is not far away. Looking at the man in black approaching quickly behind him, Suliang knew that he could not outrun him, so he gritted his teeth. Reizo appeared in his hand, and Suliang turned his head and struck out with a sword. One sword without regrets. Amidst the soft chanting, the sword light flashed, carrying the sharp sword intention of the sword without regrets, and slashed towards the man in black. However, but the man in black just stretched out his hand and flicked it, and Suliang's sword, which was so arrogant at the same level, was blocked just like that. And immediately after, the man in black gave a backhand punch and then struck back. Can't stop it? Suliang's pupils shrank, and his spiritual consciousness kept warning him. Without time to resist, Suliang forcibly twisted his body and barely dodged the punch, but because of this, he stopped and could no longer escape. Who are you? Suliang frowned and asked, not only to inquire about information, but also to delay for a while. The man in black also stopped not far from Suliang. After hearing Suliang's words, he lifted up his black robe. Immediately afterwards, under the black robe, a beautiful woman with veiled face was revealed. The beauty was wearing a Western dance skirt, but it only covered her proud peaks and upper thighs. This outfit was extremely bold. The proud peak is erect, under the plump and beautiful legs, the bare jade feet are stepping lightly on the ground, the beautiful woman has silver gray wavy hair, purple and red lips, showing her enchanting beauty, and her face is three-dimensional and charming, which is eye-catching. I, Zime, are naturally here to kill you. At this point, a hint of admiration appeared on the beautiful girl's face. Young man, you are cultivated in the immortal realm, but you can break through the 10,000 fires 100 refining formation. You are very good and have great potential. I admire you very much. But then, Zime changed the subject and showed murderous intent, but you deserve to die for ruining our grand plan that we are still planning. Oh, if you want to kill me, you can try. Suliang chuckled twice and pointed the long sword in his hand at Zime. Even if I am not your opponent, I can at least bite off a piece of your flesh before I die. As Suliang finished speaking, the atmosphere suddenly solidified, and a battle seemed to break out at any time. But at this moment, a beautiful figure suddenly caught up from behind Zime. When she saw Zime, the beautiful figure obviously paused, but then, it rushed past her at a faster speed and stopped in front of Suliang. Junior sister Mu. Suliang looked at Mu Qingqian in front of him, extremely surprised. Why are you back? Of course I want to fight against the enemy with senior brother Su. Mu Qingqian said matter-of-factly. After hearing this, Suliang's face immediately darkened. Nonsense. Senior brother Su, don't worry, I have sent a message to Master, and Master will definitely come as soon as possible. Mu Qingqian said calmly, I want to stay and fight the enemy with senior brother Su. It's just nonsense. Suliang rubbed his forehead and looked at Mu Qingqian in front of him, who foolishly said that he wanted to fight the enemy with him. He felt a headache. The gap between our strength and the enemy's is too big. If you stay, wouldn't you just give up your life? What is the use? To be fair, Suliang felt that he had given this girl an important task and sent her away to prevent her from coming back, but this girl still foolishly came back on her own. He really wanted to say something to Mu Qingqian, junior sister, you really have no other use than giving away people's heads when you come back. However, facing Suliang, who had a headache, Mu Qingqian didn't care about anything. He just shook his head and said, Senior brother Su, I just want peace of mind. You are Qingqian's senior brother. You saved Qingqian's life in the dragon cave just now. No matter what, Qingqian will not let your senior brother fight the enemy alone. If so, Qingqian's Taoist heart will be uneasy. And Mu Qingqian just finished speaking. A ray of light fell from the sky, revealing the beautiful holy sun in white clothes with fluttering black hair. Why are you here too? Looking at the holy sun falling on the ground, Suliang felt that he had an even bigger headache. I just want to find a way to deal with this person named Zime and delay him until the master arrives, but what's the matter with you two coming to kill him? Facing the ridiculously powerful Ximei, it was difficult enough for Suliang to escape on his own. He really couldn't care less about protecting Mu Qingqian and the Holy Sun. Don't think too much. The Holy Sun looked aloof and arrogant, raised his head slightly, and said to Suliang, "You saved me just now, but I never owe anyone a favor. This time I will fight against the enemy with you, even if it's thank you for this life-saving grace." Hearing this, Suliang was speechless. Yes, yes, I know you are aloof, cold, and arrogant, you are awesome, and you don't want to owe anyone any favors. I just didn't count your favors just now, so why don't you just leave quickly? After the Holy Sun finished speaking, he no longer looked at Suliang. Instead, he turned to Ximei and said calmly, "I am the Supreme Taoist sect, the Holy Sun of the Taoist section. You should know my identity. No matter what your goal is, there are strong men in Dao sect nearby now. It's still too late for you to leave now. If you still want to attack us, in the end, I'm afraid you will only end up falling." At this point, the Holy Sun showed great confidence. "Even though you are powerful, we are just hanging on to you and waiting for support, but we can still do it." Hearing this, Ximei smiled contemptuously and said nonchalantly, "Little girl, don't play tricks with me anymore. With my strength, I can control everything within 1,000 miles. Master, where are the strong men of the Tao sect you mentioned?" "Oh, little girl, you can actually lie to others." The Holy Sun immediately frowned and his face became serious. "So, you and I have to fight. You ruined our plan and saw my face. How can I allow you to go back alive?" Ximei smiled charmingly, but the meaning of her words was unquestionable. At this time, even Suliang and Mu Qingqian's expressions became serious. At this moment, the two of them have reached the point where they must fight? Then, let's fight. Suliang suddenly chuckled and pointed his sword forward. "Even if you force me too much, you still can't make me admit defeat. Senior brother Su, let's take action together." Mu Qingqian also stood beside Suliang holding a sword, and the two of them were in perfect sync. Immediately afterwards, the Holy Sun was also ready to take action. Next moment, the three of them took action at the same time, with a killing move, attacking Ximei together. Ximei tried to block it, and with a backhand palm, the three of them were knocked away. However, on the way, the three of them forcibly stopped the flying backwards and rushed back again. Boom! After waves of roaring sounds, in this quiet and uninhabited land, the three immortal realm geniuses joined forces to fight against the enemy, and a big battle broke out with Ximei. However, it was said to be a war, but the situation was basically one-sided. The three of Suliang are all in the immortal realm, and their cultivation is already at the top among their peers, but in Ximei's eyes they are not enough. The gap between the two is really too big. Therefore, Suliang and the other three tried their best, but it was of no use at all. Not to mention hurting Ximei, they couldn't even make her move at all. Even though the three of them had exhausted all the means given by their respective mentors, it was still of no use and could not turn the tide of the war at all. Looking at Ximei, who remained motionless despite being attacked by the three of him, Suliang's expression became more solemn. By now, he already had a guess in his mind. "Although I don't know the identity of this woman, she is most likely the most powerful person in this world. The three younger generations may rule the roost, but in front of such a strong man, they are really not enough. Now, what should we do?" Shen Jingzhong. At this moment, Wan Qing and Jing Meng were still playing cards leisurely. "Wang Jia." Wan Qing threw down the two cards and clapped her empty hands. "I won." Before Jing Meng could speak. Next moment, Wan Qing and Jing Meng froze, and then their expressions changed dramatically. Without waiting to say hello to Tan Qinjia and others, the two of them stood up in a hurry, flew into the sky, and rushed to the direction of the dragon cave. "Meng Meng, what happened to my good disciple and the others?" Wan Qing asked anxiously as she hurried on, hoping to get the answer from Jing Meng. However, in response, Jing Meng also shook his head, feeling nothing but anxious. Just now, they both sensed that their disciple was in danger. And this dangerous signal was blocked from perception in advance, and Cao led them to discover it now. That is to say, I don't know how long it has been since the signal was sent. At this moment, the two of them have increased their speed to the extreme, but despite this, the two of them are still not satisfied, and are still overdrawing their bodies and constantly increasing their speed. For the two of them, it's a matter of life and death. They received the information too late, and they still don't know what's going on over there. It must be okay. Wan Qing kept murmuring and clenched her hands, which turned a little white. Although Wan Qing and Jing Meng were already rushing to Suliang's side as quickly as possible, according to the situation of Suliang and the others at this time, just a short moment was already fatal enough. After blocking the combined move of Suliang and the others, Zai Mei made an impatient movement, and then suddenly waved her hand. Puff! The powerful force hit the three of them, and they were instantly knocked away and fell to the ground. For a moment, they were unable to get up. Especially the Holy Sun, who bore the brunt of the attack. She was seriously injured and lying on the ground, struggling to even struggle. Reluctantly struggling to get up, Suliang sighed, his hands trembling, and he held the sword in his hand. The three of them are no match for Zai Mei. But even so, don't give up easily either. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. My villain wants to clear his name, but he awakens Cao Thief Simulator. Author, Fangzone Wo Meng. Chapter 323. As long as there is still breath left, Suliang will kill one more sword. But at this moment, Mu Qingqian stopped in front of Suliang and said softly, "Senior brother Su, leave it to me." As he spoke, Mu Qingqian walked forward. "I have a move that can burn the source and increase the strength, enough to stop her a little and create opportunities for senior brother Su." After hearing this, Mu Qingqian was about to sacrifice herself. "Do not impulse." Suliang shook his head and stopped looking at Mu Qingqian's act of sacrificing himself. "We are not at the end of the road yet, so we will not resort to this fatal method." When he said this, scenes from The Sims came to Suliang's mind one after another. Volume 1 Chapter 301, The Emperor's Double Eyes, One Eye for 10,000 Years. That senior sister used her reputation and cultivation to protect her junior brother for several years and took care of him in every possible way. If it weren't for the presence of the senior sister and the junior brother's behavior, even if he had the protection of the Taoist master, he would not be kicked out of the mountain gate, but he would still have to experience the cynicism and rumors. Many times, these cynicisms are the most hurtful. Regardless of whether Mu Qingqian was the senior sister or not, Suliang couldn't just sit back and watch her disappear. As long as you live, you can never let yourself regret. Senior brother Su. Mu Qingqian smiled helplessly. "Apart from this, do we have any other options?" The enemy was so powerful that even if Mu Qingqian sacrificed herself, she didn't think she could resist the beauty for long. "It seems that we have really reached a desperate situation." Hearing this, Suliang pursed his lips and said nothing, tightly holding the holy object Reizo in his hand. In his mind, he was constantly thinking of ways to break the situation. At least, these two people must be taken away. And just then, after detecting the current situation of the host, the simulation route permission can be opened for the host. You know the price, which needs to be repaid by the host according to the number of simulations. The sound of the system suddenly sounded in Suliang's ears. "Call." Suliang breathed a sigh of relief and felt much more relaxed. Sure enough, at the critical moment, the system is still very reliable. As for the price, it doesn't matter, as long as you can leave alive in the end, you will always have a way to repay it. Now, he doesn't care much anymore. Enable simulation. Suliang said immediately. Simulation on. Mu Qingqian wanted to sacrifice himself and create opportunities, but you didn't allow it, but failed to stop him. However, Mu Qingqian, who sacrificed himself, did not stop Ximei for a long time. You took the Holy Sun with you, but Ximei caught up with you. The second simulation begins. You were defeated by Ximei and fell into a desperate situation, but you broke through in the desperate situation. Your sword power improved to a higher level. You used your strongest sword, but you still didn't hurt Ximei. The third simulation begins. In just a short moment, the system simulated escape routes hundreds of times in Suliang's mind. To the end. Finally, the plan with the highest survival rate was selected. You asked Mu Qingqian for the Dragon Ball, detonated the Dragon Ball, used the luck in it to catalyze the Emperor's falling eyes, and forcibly broke the third level. Looking at the plan given by the system, Suliang did not hesitate. He immediately turned to look at Mu Qingqian and stretched out his hand. Qingqian, give me the Dragon Ball. I have an idea. After hearing this, Mu Qingqian handed the Dragon Ball that he had finally snatched to Suliang without saying a word. See this. Zimei Jiao smiled and said, the Dragon Ball is indeed magical, and it contains great luck. However, these lucks are not something you little guys can control. Even if you have the Dragon Ball in your hand, there is nothing you can do to me. But Suliang had no intention of paying attention to Zimei. He held the Dragon Ball in his hand and felt the warm touch of the Dragon Ball. The next moment, the true energy in his body was poured into it, which instantly caused the turbulence of the luck in the Dragon Ball. In a blink. Boom. The Dragon Ball exploded, and the outer shell shattered instantly. The huge luck hidden in the Dragon Ball spread instantly, and the powerful impact almost pushed everything around Suliang away. Looking at this scene, Ximei tilted her head, looking confused, but did not attack. She wanted to see how Suliang would use this almost useless Dragon Ball against her. And soon, she saw it. I saw. At the moment when the luck spread, Suliang immediately activated the Emperor's falling eyes. In an instant, the world changed, day and night changed, the mountains and rivers were turbulent, and the power of the Emperor's fall emanated from Suliang's body, causing everything around him to, all trembled. Even Zimei couldn't help but look solemn when she felt this aura. Next moment. Receive. Suliang gave a soft drink, and the Emperor's heavy eyes were activated by him with all his strength, bursting out with a strong suction force. Like a greedy beast, the Emperor's heavy eyes absorbed all the luck that had escaped, absorbing all the luck of his own body. Click. Broken sounds sounded, and as the Emperor Luo's Chong pupil absorbed the luck, the third layer of seal that exuded a glimmer of light and carried supreme power was filled by this huge power. The luck that came in was wiped out bit by bit until it was broken. The Emperor fell on the third level of his heavy pupils and was unsealed. Moment. Boom. The heaven and earth buzzed incessantly, and the sky suddenly turned dark. It seemed as if the sun, moon, and stars had all been annihilated. The earth buzzed and trembled, as if the mountains were collapsing and the earth was cracking. It seemed that the whole world could not bear the unsealing of Emperor Luo's heavy pupils. And with the unsealing of Emperor Luo's double eyes, a new powerful eye technique appeared in Suliang's mind. One glance lasts forever. Suliang shouted softly, and without hesitation, he activated Emperor Luo's heavy pupils, used his pupil technique, and blasted towards Zimei. Eye technique took action, bursting out with dazzling light, as fast as light, and in just the blink of an eye, it hit Zimei, making her unable to escape or dodge. However, after the hit, there was no sound. Zaime's figure suddenly stopped, and the surrounding light began to distort. In the pupil technique, Zaime seemed to have a glimpse of 10,000 years, and was about to experience 10,000 years of time. Next moment. Boom. Zaime's whole body exploded. Vaguely, Suliang and the others could still hear the screams belonging to Zaime in the explosion. As a person who uses eye skills, Suliang naturally knows the power of a glance for 10,000 years. The terrifying lethality of a 1,000-year glance, even if it is transcendent, is difficult to withstand. Zaime is extremely powerful, but under a 1,000-year glance, he was severely injured on the spot. But at the same time, Suliang and the others had no time to pay attention to Zaime. The movement caused by the detonation of the Dragon Ball and the 1,000-year explosion directly distorted the surrounding time and space. Suliang and the others had no time to resist, so they were swallowed up and disappeared. After a long time, the explosion smoke dissipated, revealing the purple charm inside. At this moment, Zaime was already in tatters in the explosion. Under the cover of the Western region dance skirt, spots on the proud peak were exposed, and most of the dance skirt covering her waist had been burned. Zaime battle damage.jpg. Holding her chest and feeling the heavy injuries in her body, Zaime only felt a lingering fear in her heart. A mere immortal realm can actually have such a trump card, which frustrates me. Zaime said in amazement, and suddenly, Suliang's imperial eyes that almost made the world collapse, a trace of fear inevitably rose in his heart. What are those eyes? Why is it so scary? With just a little push, you can actually seriously injure yourself? It seems that it is necessary to go back and report. But at this moment, a completely unexpected change occurred for Zaime. Two figures suddenly descended from the sky, carrying boundless killing intent. Volume 1 Chapter 302 Angry Heroines, Where is my man? Wan Qing and Jing Meng fell from the sky. They didn't even have time to collect their breaths before looking at everything around them. But then, both of them turned pale. After all, is it still a step too late? Looking at the traces of this place, the earth cracked, the vegetation was damaged, and a huge abyss pit appeared on the earth, which contained an extremely cold and destructive meaning. A seriously injured beauty in ragged clothes stood not far from the two of them. The aura on his body was as deep as a prison, far beyond the realm of immortality. He must be the enemy of Suliang and others. Two different remnants of sword intent are still soaring to the sky, belonging to Suliang and Mu Qingqian. There is also an aura belonging to the Holy Sun that remains here, but it is already a little weak. But there were only 3 people missing on the field. The battle is over. Jingmeng said in a daze, where is Qingqian? Where is my disciple? I'm not. Didn't I leave her many means to save her life? How could she disappear? But having said that, looking at Zaime not far away, Jingmeng knew it in her heart. Facing such a powerful enemy, how effective can the methods she gave Mu Qingqian be? And while Jingmeng was muttering to himself, Wan Qing, who was standing next to him, was already stiff. Master, he is gone. How is it possible? Master is a man of great luck, with deep blessings and unlimited potential. He has so many cards that even I don't know. No matter how powerful the enemy is, Master should have the ability to protect himself. How could it be gone? How can it be? Master, come out quickly, don't scare me, okay? Master. Scenes from the past and present life appear in Wan Qing's mind one after another. The sweetness, pain, and dullness of the past are still vivid in my memory, as if they are engraved in the depths of my mind and cannot be forgotten. After 1,000 years of waiting and 1,000 years of searching, why has it ended up like this? Wan Qington opened her mouth slightly, wanting to call out the name that was already engraved in her heart, but she found that she could no longer utter a word. No matter how hard I tried, I couldn't utter a single word. But then, my villain wants to clear his name, but he awakens Cao Thief Simulator. Author, Fangzone Womeng. Chapter 324. Wan Qing looked at Zimei not far away. It was she who blocked this place so that I could not receive Master's call for help. It was she who took advantage of my absence to attack Master. It was she who hurt Master. Moment. The sadness that had accumulated for thousands of years turned into overwhelming anger, sweeping through Wan Qing's entire mind. If you dare to attack Sul Yang, you will die. With an angry shout, before Zimei could react, Wan Qing's figure suddenly appeared in front of her, and then, she punched Zimei hard in the face. Boom! There was a loud roar, and the strong energy pushed Zimei's body, sending her flying several miles away. At this moment, Zimei was completely stunned, and she was beaten. There was no time to think more. Zimei's body was like electricity, and she fled from the moment quickly, not daring to stop for a moment. The punch just now almost blew her head off. No matter why this woman attacks herself, she is no match for her. Run, run, if it's too late, you will die. Get back here. Wan Qing roared angrily, and together with Jing Meng, they launched a 10,000-mile pursuit of Zimei. Zimei had already increased her speed to the limit. However, Wan Qing and Jing Meng, who were in a rage, were incredibly fast. Almost instantly, they caught up with Zimei and pushed her to the ground with a blast. Kill her. After exhausting all means, Zimei could only escape for a moment. Just as she was not far away, she was caught up again, pinned to the ground and beaten violently again, without the ability to fight back. Wan Qing and Jing Meng were furious. Zimei was no match for either of them, let alone the two of them joining forces. Zimei had no other choice but to beat them up. Even though they are both transcendent, there are differences. In the demonic dragon cave, Qin Binjiao and Tao Yaoyao moved smoothly all the way. Ever since Qin Binjiao's identity as the smiling tyrant was exposed, no one in the Devil's Way dared to take Qin Binjiao's advice. Soon, the two of them entered the deepest part of the dragon cave, and together with a group of demonic geniuses, killed the real dragon, and then started a battle for the dragon beads. But at the critical moment of the fight for the Dragon Ball, just when Qin Binjiao was about to hold the Dragon Ball in her hands and end the fight for the Dragon Ball, Qin Binjiao was stunned and briefly distracted. What happened? With a casual punch, Qin Binjiao knocked away the prodigy who had snatched the Dragon Ball. She caressed her heart with her slender hand and murmured to herself, "Why, my contact with Lang Jun was blocked. What happened over there, Lang Jun?" Sheng Jing. Since Sul Yang and others left, Tan Qinja has become more and more lazy. Although Yang Kaoj and Qin Wanyu often come to accompany her, for Tan Qinja, the absence of Liang and even the traitor makes her feel a little lonely and unmotivated. This day, in the inner courtyard, Yang Kaoj and Qin Wanyu were with Tan Qinja, talking about everyday things, but Tan Qinja was lying on her back on the recliner, her eyes slightly narrowed, a lazy posture, basking in the sun, which felt good. But at this moment, Tan Qinja sat up suddenly, put her hands on her heart, feeling the sudden throbbing, and felt deep worry in her heart. Liang. What's wrong with you? Why do I feel such palpitations because of you? In a mysterious primitive ancient forest. Click. There was a shattering sound, and somewhere in the primitive ancient forest, the space was distorted. Next moment, a figure fell out of it and fell to the ground, unconscious. It's Sul Yang. At this moment, Sul Yang frowned slightly and his body twitched unconsciously. It was obvious that he was enduring great pain. In order to deal with Zimei, Sul Yang forcibly unsealed the emperor's falling eyes, but as a result, he suffered a backlash from heaven. He was seriously injured and fell into a coma. All the 5 elements in his body were burned. There were faint signs of riots in his true energy. Even his meridians were somewhat damaged. At this time, he was extremely injured. But at this moment, one after another, the ferocious beasts were attracted by the movement here and slowly approaching Sul Yang. Seriously injured and comatose, surrounded by beasts, this is already a life and death crisis. Roar! A ferocious beast sniffed at Sul Yang's body, and suddenly looked up to the sky and roared. There was a trace of obvious excitement in its cloudy eyes. To the ferocious beast, the huge vitality and pure essence in Sul Yang's body at this moment is nothing more than a treasure. Even though the ferocious beasts cannot plunder the true essence from Sul Yang's body, they can gain huge benefits by devouring it and turning the vitality in Sul Yang's body and the body that has been soaked in the true essence for a long time for their own use. The ferocious beasts have no intelligence and only rely on instinct to act. They cannot refuse this kind of opportunity from heaven. And as this ferocious beast roared, all the ferocious beasts surrounding it roared in response. They were all extremely excited and wanted to take action immediately. After brewing for a moment, the first roaring beast took a few steps back, with a fierce look in its eyes, and pounced towards Sul Yang. In its huge open mouth are sharp teeth that can shatter gold and stone. If this ferocious beast is not stopped, Sul Yang will definitely die. Just when the beast's fangs were about to bite Sul Yang's neck. But suddenly, a sword light came across. Laugh. The sword light passed by at an extremely fast speed. The ferocious beast that rushed forward was immediately decapitated by the sword light. Its head was missing, and its life was extinguished. Next moment, Mu Qingqian had a solemn and sacred face. He held a long sword, pointed his toes on the ground, and flew over. As the long sword was swung, several sword lights crisscrossed, killing all the strange beasts surrounding here. Although she also had serious internal injuries, she was not as good as Sul Yang. For a genius like Mu Qingqian, even if she had serious internal injuries, it would be easy to handle the vicious beast without any difficulty. After killing all the ferocious beasts, Mu Qingqian hurriedly fell to Sul Yang's side, placed her slender hand on Sul Yang's hand, transferred her true energy into Sul Yang's body, and checked Sul Yang's injuries. Well, the internal injuries were serious. I don't know how many muscles in the body were broken, and even the meridians were damaged, but these injuries were not fatal. As long as Sul Yang wakes up and recuperates, he can recover. The most important thing at this time is to deal with Sul Yang's trauma. She didn't need to take off Sul Yang's clothes, but just glanced at the blood stains on Sul Yang's clothes, and she could tell that Sul Yang's body was already covered with scars. If the wound is not stopped in time, I am afraid that Sul Yang will soon become extremely weak due to excessive bleeding. But Mu Qingqian bit her red lips lightly, feeling extremely embarrassed. If she wanted to stop Sul Yang's wound, she would have to take off her clothes. What do you want people to do? Although senior brother Su did save his life twice, but after all, there are differences between men and women. It would be too embarrassing to ask people to take off senior brother Su's clothes for inspection. But if we don't do it, senior brother Su's wound. After hesitating for a moment, Mu Qingqian gritted his teeth and made up his mind. Done. Isn't it just taking off your clothes? How can we, the descendants of the world, be so pretentious? If we continue to be pretentious, senior brother Su will be hopeless. Then, taking a deep breath, Mu Qingqian bravely opened Sul Yang's clothes, revealing what was hidden inside. Moment. Mu Qingqian closed her eyes to prevent herself from seeing what she should have seen. But the scene that flashed by just now was deeply imprinted in her mind, constantly tugging at her heartstrings. Or, just take a look. Ever since I was a child, I have never seen the body of the opposite sex. Moreover, senior brother Su seems to have a very good figure. Well, take a look, just take a look. Finally convincing herself, Mu Qingqian suppressed the shyness in her heart, turned her head, widened her eyes, and looked at everything under Suliang's clothes. Senior brother Su, he seems to have a really good figure. Ba, Mu Qingqian, what on earth are you thinking about? Is this something you should be thinking about? Yeah, not only did I look at senior brother Su, but I also commented on him. I was so shy. But, I'm really curious. Take one look, then take another look. Constantly building herself mentally, in the primitive ancient forest, the elegant elder sister took off the clothes of the young man lying on the ground. Her cheeks were flushed, and she observed the young man's body shyly and curiously. The elegant eldest sister knew that she shouldn't look at it, but she was so curious that she couldn't control herself at all. After a long time, Suliang woke up faintly. Regardless of the pain in his body, he struggled to sit up. He looked at the primitive ancient forest around him and asked confusedly, "Here, where is this?" But as soon as he finished speaking, Mu Qingqian's dull voice rang out from beside him, it's over, I've fallen." Blinking, Suliang looked at Mu Qingqian doubtfully, glanced at his obviously touched clothes, suddenly took a breath of air, and asked tentatively, "Qingqian, it can't be your first time gone?" When asked, Suliang's whole body went numb. Yes, I know that I have been seriously injured, but you won't use this method to save me, right? It's not like there are no other treatments, so why bother, girl? But the result? Mu Qingqian shook her head dully. No, it's my first experience of changing someone else's clothes. It's over, senior brother Su, I've fallen. Hearing this, Suliang was speechless. Is it just a change of clothes? What's the big deal? Why act like it's the first time? Moreover, how did I come up with that direction? Obviously they just say that they have fallen. It's over. It seems that after staying with my sisters and others for so long, my thoughts have become dirty. Shaking his head and laughing, Suliang rolled his eyes and suddenly approached and said, "Junior sister Mu, don't worry, senior brother, I will be responsible for you." Hearing this, Mu Qingqian was obviously stunned, but then he understood what Suliang meant and smiled slightly. "Thank you, senior brother." Senior brother Su himself was seriously injured, but in order to comfort me, he even joked with me. Well, senior brother Su is so gentle. For a time, the atmosphere between the two became happy. My villain wants to clear his name, but he awakens Cao Thief Simulator. Author, Fangzone Womeng. Chapter 325. After chatting for a few more words, Suliang looked at the primitive ancient forest around him and frowned slightly. We still don't know where we are trapped. There are many crises in this kind of ancient forest. But unfortunately, both of you and I have suffered serious injuries. We cannot use our strength to the fullest. If we encounter any danger, we have no ability to resist. As he spoke, Suliang was thinking, and then continued, "Junior sister Mu, let's heal our wounds quickly. We are almost in a desperate situation at this time, and we have no time to delay." Well, we all listen to senior brother Su. Mu Qingqian nodded without any intention to refute. At this moment, the voice of the timely rain system appeared again. It has been detected that the host has passed the crisis. Please repay the previous simulation reward. Repayment conditions: ask the host to participate in a special simulation. Only by obtaining any simulation object can you offset the previous price. And if you can achieve it perfectly, you can additionally provide a quick healing secret. Hearing this, Suliang blinked and felt a hint of joy in his heart. I was worried that I didn't have time to heal my injuries, so the system unexpectedly sent me a quick healing secret. System, well done. Let the simulation begin, I'm ready. Falling outside a village, Suliang rubbed his forehead and looked blankly at the unfamiliar sights around him. I remember, I was in the ancient forest just now, right? Have you, Traveled through time again? Wish you all a happy Mid-Autumn Festival. Volume 1 Chapter 303, Pick up a witch and take it home. Forget it, forget about this for now. Standing up, Suliang looked at the village where smoke was curling up. Let's go to the village first and find out where this place is. Thinking in his mind, Suliang strode forward, but before he had gone far, he heard a soft and lovely voice, "Hey, big brother, where are you going?" Suliang was stunned for a moment, then turned around to look, only to see at a glance, a cute little Lolita, as delicate as a porcelain doll, appeared not far from Suliang. "Little sister, are you from the village ahead?" Suliang asked, pointing to the village in front of him. The little Loli was so cute. She jumped up and down as she walked, and her pigtails behind her were so cute. Plus, she was not timid, and she was so cute. A familiar personality naturally makes people like him. Yeah. Little Loli nodded and asked, "Who is the big brother? Where does he come from?" Suliang thought for a while, smiled bitterly and shook his head, "I don't know either, so, I want to go to the village ahead to have a look first." "I see." The little Loli nodded seriously, then walked over and took Suliang's hand, happily pulling him towards the village. "Brother, let's go and visit my house. My parents are very enthusiastic and will definitely do it. I'm willing to let you use it at my house." Ahem. Suliang coughed slightly in embarrassment. He always felt that if he followed her, he would be taking advantage of the little girl. But thinking about it carefully, he didn't seem to have any goals, so he might as well follow her. So Suliang nodded and agreed, "Okay." Walking in the village, it was the time when the sun was setting and all the people coming and going in the village were villagers returning home to rest after working. Smoke rises from the roofs of every house, adding a hint of fireworks to the whole village, which makes people feel at ease. Along the way, the little Loli led Suliang forward, and the passing villagers all greeted the little Loli with kind smiles. What's more, they would stuff some freshly picked fruits into her hands, making the little Loli laugh happily and keep saying thank you. Even for Suliang, an outsider, the villagers responded with kindness and a smiley effect. After arriving at little Loli's home and saying hello to little Loli's parents, little Loli's parents welcomed Suliang's arrival and even warmly invited Suliang to stay for how long. After some polite exchanges, Suliang followed little Loli to the yard outside the house, where he casually fed the chickens and ducks and chatted about something. Looking at everything around him, Suliang couldn't help but feel a little emotional. This village is really simple. Although the daily work is a bit hard, it is always happy, and everyone has a happy smile on their face. After helping the little Loli with her work, the two sat down, and the little Loli asked curiously, "Big brother is from outside, right? What is the outside world like?" "The world outside?" Suliang recalled carefully that since he came to this world, in addition to practicing in Tiandao sect, he spent most of his time looking for opportunities outside, constantly practicing, and actively or passively participating in various major events. He really doesn't know much about the lives of ordinary people in this world. But it doesn't matter. Suliang is someone who has seen the world. Although he hasn't seen much, he can still get the whole picture with the little bit he knows. Then Suliang smiled and said, "Why don't I tell you a story?" "Yeah." The little Loli kept nodding her head, her eyes shining with excitement. People like telling stories the most. Sunrise and sunset, time flies. Since arriving in the village, Suliang has stayed at Xiao Loli's house for quite some time. Certainly. It's not that he lived in vain. Whether it was money or help with work, Suliang paid a lot, and it was worth some kindness. Although little Loli's parents didn't mind that Suliang had been staying there and even welcomed her warmly, Suliang couldn't be so shameless and take advantage of others. As a result of staying here for the past few days, this little Lolita became more and more attached to Suliang. She pestered Suliang all day long and played with Suliang. She seemed to really regard Suliang as her big brother. Facing such a cute loli, how could Suliang say no? I can't bear it at all. And this day, Suliang accompanied the little Lolita to play in the countryside. The scenery along the way was beautiful, the land was vast and sparsely populated, and the sky was vast and blue. Standing in the wilderness and fields, looking at the end of the sky in the distance, Suliang felt an indescribable feeling in his heart. The feeling of pride and joy. And just then, the little loli's exclamation suddenly came, "Yeah." Hearing this, Suliang frowned, and then, like lightning, he came to the little loli's side in just an instant. What's wrong? Suliang subconsciously blocked the little loli behind him and looked around cautiously. Not only did the little loli regard Suliang as an older brother, but after spending a few days together, Suliang also subconsciously regarded the little loli as his sister. Is my such a lovely sister in danger of being bullied? Hey, let's see if I don't blow his head off. Big brother, look there. Little loli pointed to the girl lying on the ground not far away, severely injured and unable to move. Brother, what's wrong with that sister? Come on, girl, go over and take a look. After staring at the beautiful figure for a long time, Suliang confirmed that her cultivation was not as good as his own, and there was no way she could hurt the little Lolita under his eyes, so he walked over with the little Lolita. Seeing the appearance of Suliang and little Loli, a glimmer of light flashed in the seriously injured girl's eyes, but she hid it well. Immediately, the girl stretched out her hands towards Suliang and little Loli, and said in pain, "Help, help me, I was attacked by a gangster and seriously injured." But before she finished speaking, Suliang interrupted her directly, "A demonic witch? She looks very similar in disguise." Although Suliang had not come into contact with many demonic people, there was a witch Tao Yao Yao lurking around him. He was very aware of the methods of these witches, and it would not be difficult to see through them at a glance. Hearing that Suliang had directly revealed her identity, the witch's face immediately darkened. "Oh, I'm really unlucky to have met a knowledgeable person." At this time, the little loli on the side pulled Suliang's arm. "Brother, let's take my sister back and cure her." Hearing this, Suliang was stunned. "Girl, do you know that she is a demonic witch? I have told you before about how evil and cruel people in the demonic way are, right?" However, although she knew the identity of the demon girl, the little loli still expressed her innocent thoughts. "I know, but big brother, I believe that there are good people in the devil's way." Volume 1 Chapter 204 System, do you want to practice both secret arts? Frowning slightly, Suliang continued to forcefully interfere with the little loli's choice, but still warned, "Girl, be careful of strangers." However, the little loli didn't care at all about this. Time passed again, and under the care of little loli, the demon girl's injuries got better day by day. However, she was seriously injured before, and her cultivation was seriously damaged. Even though she recovered from her injuries, she still lost a lot of her cultivation, causing her realm to plummet. Then, in order to regain her strength, the demon girl set up a formation without telling the little Lolita, and she did not hesitate to risk the lives of the entire village. There may be good people among the devil, but that person is definitely not the witch at this time. The little loli mistakenly believed in the witch, and she made one wrong step after another, and ended up in doom. After a period of growth, the original little loli has grown up a lot, looking like a bud just blooming, and has successfully evolved into a big loli. But at this moment, the little loli stood in front of everyone in the village, looking at the witch who exuded a bloody and strange aura, with tears in her beautiful eyes. "Sister, how could you attack the people in the village, them, but they are all people who have helped my sister. Is there anything surprising?" The demon girl smiled nonchalantly, and inadvertently, she revealed her charming charm that made people blush. I am originally a demon girl. Little girl, since I am a demon girl, I will refine the whole village and help me regain my strength. Isn't that a normal thing? As she spoke, the demon girl moved lightly and walked up to the little Lolita. She pinched her cheek with her slender fingers and said, "Little girl, you should have listened to what that boy said back then. You are really too simple and kind. Sister, I just like to destroy such a simple and kind-hearted existence like you. Little girl, you have to remember that these people behind you will all die in my hands later, and all of this is your fault. If you hadn't listened to that young man, rescued me, and believed in me, how could they have suffered today's disaster? So, their deaths should actually be blamed on you." The words fell. Looking at the dull face of the little Loli, the witch laughed loudly, as if she had encountered something that made her happy. After hearing what the witch said, the little Loli's legs immediately lost strength and collapsed to the ground. It turns out that I mistrusted her, which led to the disaster in the village today. It turns out that I was deceived. If I had known earlier, I really shouldn't have believed in the witch in the first place. Witches and stuff are really annoying. The little Loli was thinking in her mind. She was in a daze, she felt extremely regretful, but she was powerless. With her own strength alone, she couldn't stop the demon girl at all. "Okay, after talking to you so much, it's time to send them on their way and let them help me regain my strength." You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. My villain wants to clear his name, but he awakens Cao Thief Simulator. Author, Fangzone Wo Meng. Chapter 326. The demon girl stretched her body, her energy surging, and connected with the formation she had arranged on the ground, intending to start massacring the entire village to help herself regain her strength. As she spoke, the demon girl walked past the little Loli, leaving only a faint sentence, "Little girl, watch carefully, what kind of consequences did your temporary kindness have? Say it." The demon girl blasted out her palm and hit the villagers. With the bodies of the villagers without any cultivation, if they were hit by this palm, there would probably be countless casualties on the spot. "Don't want." The little Loli screamed and wanted to turn around to stop the demon girl's behavior. However, at this moment, she was suppressed by the demon girl. Turning her head was already the limit and she was unable to stand up at all. And at this critical moment, a figure suddenly appeared in front of the villagers. He just stretched out a finger and tapped lightly on the surging palm wind, broken. With a soft groan, the palm wind disappeared in an instant, revealing the figure inside. It was Suliang. "Big brother." When the little Loli saw Suliang's figure, she screamed in surprise, and then her eyes filled with tears. "Don't worry, girl, Big brother is here, everything will be fine." Suliang smiled tenderly at the little Loli, then stopped his smile and walked slowly towards the enchantress. The devilish witch, in order to regain her own strength, tried to sacrifice the lives of a whole village. Such behavior is unacceptable. Today, I will kill you here to save you from causing trouble to the world in the future. As soon as he finished speaking, Suliang walked up to the demon girl. Facing the horrified face of the demon girl, Suliang just put his fingers together, like sword fingers, and gently touched the demon girl's forehead. Boom! After a soft sound, the surging sword energy poured into the demon girl's head, and in an instant, everything in her head was shattered. From the beginning to the end, the demon girl was locked by Suliang's energy, and it was difficult for her to even blink, let alone run away. As the demon girl was beheaded, the large formation on the ground exuding a faint trace of blood also gradually dissipated because it lost the support of its power. It was like being erased by an eraser, and soon disappeared without a trace. At this point, the disaster has been eliminated. After settling all the villagers, Suliang found the little loli who was in a daze on a hillside. He smiled, walked up and sat next to the little loli. "Big brother," the little loli said in a slightly indifferent voice, which had long lost its previous liveliness, "tell me, did I really do something wrong? The devil, is it really unbelievable?" Hearing this, Suliang frowned slightly. He instinctively felt that the little loli already had a knot in her heart. If he didn't untie it for her, she might be confused for the rest of her life because of this matter. After thinking for a moment, Suliang chuckled and enlightened, "Actually, justice and evil have never been so clearly distinguished. Not all good people are in the righteous path, and naturally not all bad people are in the evil path. So, girl, what you are wrong about is not your trust and naivete, but your lack of strength to make up for your mistakes." After hearing this, little Loli's eyes gradually glowed with light. "Yes, Big Brother is right. Good and evil are not two distinct extremes. My idea is not wrong. The only fault is that I am too weak. If I were stronger than that demon eldest sister, the people in the village today would definitely not have to endure this kind of suffering." With a clear understanding in her heart, the little loli smiled happily at Suliang. "Thank you, Big Brother, I understand. Time flies and time passes faster." Suliang stays with the loli, accompanying her and witnessing the loli's growth. And as time went by, the little Lolita gradually grew up and became more and more graceful. In the end, she looked exactly like Mu Qingqian. Looking at the graceful goddess of righteousness, Suliang fell silent. At this point, the secret of this special simulation has been revealed. Everything he experienced in the simulation should be Mu Qingqian's past experience, right? When the demon girl massacred the city, it was like a nightmare. Although it had been a long time, she was still haunting Mu Qingqian. Hidden under Mu Qingqian's stubborn, almost paranoid justice are actually the painful lessons of the past. At this time, congratulations to the host. Through the special simulation, he achieved perfect achievements, solved his doubts and helped Mu Qingqian clear up his worries. Listening to the sound of the system, Suliang frowned and thought for a moment before asking doubtfully, "The things in the simulation have been experienced before, so in the simulation, I can help Qingqian kill the demon girl and eliminate the disaster, but, in reality, what would be the development without me?" The system did not answer aloud, but reflected the past scenes in Suliang's mind. Once, on the eve of the massacre, when lowly Qingqian was already desperate, a beautiful figure suddenly appeared. It was none other than Mu Qingqian's current master, Jing Meng. The darkness in front of his eyes receded, and Mu Qingqian slowly opened her eyes and woke up. Sitting up, Mu Qingqian rubbed his forehead, recalling what he had just experienced in his dream, and a smile appeared on his lips unconsciously. Although he dreamed about the painful memories of his childhood, this time, the witch failed to accomplish anything and the village was not harmed in any way. And in my dream, I always have a big brother who accompanies me, guides me, dotes on me, protects me, and helps me solve all my troubles. So, it was really a good dream. If possible, Mu Qingqian actually didn't want to wake up from her dream so soon. "Are you awake?" A familiar voice sounded from beside him. Mu Qingqian was startled, and turned to look to the side. Suliang looked at him with a gentle smile, and unconsciously called out the familiar title, "Big Brother." Suliang blinked, and forcibly resisted the urge to reach out and touch Mu Qingqian's head like he did with that little Lolita, pretending to be confused. "Junior sister Mu, what are you talking about? Why don't I understand?" "Fine." Mu Qingqian immediately realized what she was talking about. Her pretty face turned red instantly, and she didn't even dare to look at Suliang again, feeling very embarrassed. Why did you say what was in your heart?" "Oops, so embarrassing, how can I face senior brother so now?" Seeing Mu Qingqian's appearance, Su Liang immediately choked back what he wanted to say next. For a moment, he didn't even know what to say. Then, the atmosphere between the two fell into a strange awkwardness. Ahem. Su Liang coughed lightly and sat next to Mu Qingqian. He turned his head and stopped looking at Mu Qingqian. This also gave Mu Qingqian time to calm down his emotions. Otherwise, with the character of the righteous goddess, I am afraid that this would happen. I can't get through it for a long time. Taking advantage of this time, Su Liang began to look through the healing techniques provided by the system. He remembered that before participating in the special simulation, the system promised him that as long as he could achieve perfect results, he would be given a quick healing secret. After Su Liang exited the special simulation, he did achieve a perfect achievement, but this time the system didn't even notify him of the reward and just handed it out. Until now, Su Liang didn't know what the secret method of rapid healing was. Well, let me be healthy. Su Liang opened the secret method and looked at it carefully, but after just looking at it for a moment, he couldn't help but raise his eyebrows. Why is it a dual cultivation secret method? And, this picture seems so similar. It seems that there was once a person who opened his heart to me in the name of healing, and had an in-depth and simple communication based on the secret method of dual cultivation. At this thought, Su Liang couldn't help but start to doubt his system. I said, "Dog system, what do you mean by giving me this kind of technique? Could it be that you want me to take down Mu Qingqian in the name of dual cultivation? Hey, you are such a bad system. Isn't this mission about being a good person? Why are you still sticking to Cao and Thief? That's too much. Do you think I would do such a thing, taking advantage of others' danger?" However, faced with Su Liang's suspicion, the system just replied calmly, "Host, please read it carefully." "Okay, okay." Su Liang sighed helplessly. His dog system didn't respond and looked aloof. What else could he do? I had no choice but to follow the system and start watching the secret art of dual cultivation. Soon, Su Liang read the secret method completely, and felt a little surprised. Unexpectedly, this secret method turned out to be a very serious dual cultivation method. Certainly, it's not the kind of dual cultivation that involves acquaintances with Guanbao, explaining the profound things in simple terms, and being good at it, but a more conservative dual cultivation that only requires the contact of both palms. This secret method is called the yin and yang combination technique. It sounds very high-end, and it involves the combination of Tao and yin-yang. It makes people think that it is easy to get confused, but in fact, this secret method is very serious. The secret method takes the yin and yang of men and women as conductors, and uses the pure and turbid qi of heaven and earth for one's own use. When the yin and yang are pure and turbid, they can be accommodated in one body, turned into one's own use, stimulate potential, and naturally achieve the effect of rapid healing. Junior sister Mu. Su Liang turned his head and looked at Mu Qingqian seriously. "I have a secret method here that can help the two of us heal quickly, but it requires two people to work together. I wonder if junior sister is willing to practice with me." After finishing his words, looking at Mu Qingqian's doubtful and shy face, Su Liang added, "Although this technique is indeed a dual cultivation technique, it only requires the contact of both palms. There is nothing excessive about it." He felt that if he didn't explain it clearly to Mu Qingqian might not be able to practice with him anyway because of the misleading beginning and name of the secret method. Listening to Su Liang's explanation, Mu Qingqian took a deep look at Su Liang, nodded and said, "Okay. Big brother, no, it's senior brother Su. Senior brother Su will definitely not lie to me. Therefore, senior brother Su's secret method can be practiced." After reading the entire secret method and practicing it a little, Su Liang and Mu Qingqian began formal practice. Sitting cross-legged on the ground, their palms facing each other, their eyes slightly squinted, the secret method was running at the same time. With the power of the secret method, using their own yin and yang as conductors, they successfully borrowed the pure and turbid qi of heaven and earth in just a moment. And at the moment when the pure and turbid qi merge into one's body, a warm, yet numb, and itchy feeling instantly filled Suliang's entire nerves. This was always indescribably comfortable and almost made Suliang lose his temper. At the same time, Mu Qingqian, who was sitting opposite Suliang, could no longer control himself and began to hum. Volume 1 Chapter 305 The friendship between the goddess and the goddess begins to deteriorate. Well. With a muffled groan, Mu Qingqian's lonely and cold voice was charming and soft at the moment, as if she was having a close relationship with Suliang. Hey, junior sister Mu, what on earth are you doing? It's just some comfortable feeling. Can you please restrain it? This voice is easily misunderstood, right? If the Holy Sun hears your voice, she will probably draw her sword and kill me, right? With a sigh, Suliang felt very headache at this moment. But fortunately, in just half a day, most of the injuries on Suliang and Mu Qingqian recovered and they were no longer in trouble. After stopping the secret technique, Suliang and Mu Qingqian let out a deep breath at the same time. Feeling the pain in their bodies that had almost disappeared, and the fact that most of their injuries had recovered, they couldn't help but smile. Very good, the current injuries are no longer enough to affect our combat effectiveness. Even if we encounter any danger again, with our current posture, we are still capable of fighting. My villain wants to clear his name, but he awakens Cao Thief Simulator. Author, Fangzone Womeng. Chapter 327. But right now. Goo. There was a cooing sound, and Mu Qingqian covered her growling stomach and met Suliang's gaze, feeling a little shy and her pretty face turned red. Oh, I'm so hungry. Suliang said with a smile, relieving Mu Qingqian's embarrassment. Junior sister Mu, why don't we go find some food and solve the food problem? Listening to Suliang's words, Mu Qingqian was stunned for a moment, and then he realized something, and his eyes flashed. After a moment, she nodded, okay. After retrieving some food and cutting off the best parts from the beasts that had been killed before, Suliang used local materials to make a set of kitchen utensils, and then began to concentrate his sword energy, cut the ingredients, and start cooking. Besides Suliang, Mu Qingqian was helping Suliang with some small things, and she was very happy with it. She thought it was a very fresh experience. She hadn't done it for a long time since she became the master's disciple. These things have happened. Moreover, because of the previous simulation, the more than 10 years of companionship, protection, and pampering, Mu Qingqian's closeness to Suliang and his favorable impressions all surged, and he directly transformed into a good baby and obeyed Suliang's words. For a time, the atmosphere in the world between Suliang and Mu Qingqian was very warm. Brother, ahem, senior brother Su, is the food ready? I'm hungry. Mu Qingqian looked at the food in the pot expectantly, while pouting slightly and rubbing her flat belly, looking a little cute. At this moment, Mu Qingqian, in front of Suliang, seemed to be the little loli who followed Suliang and called her big brother. The image of the prestigious righteous goddess had begun to gradually deviate. Only by Suliang's side could she show her true self so naturally and unscrupulously. Do not worry. Suliang shook his head and patted Mu Qingqian's head very naturally. Go and prepare the dishes and chopsticks. It will be ready soon. It's just that the conditions here are a bit crude after all. Although the ingredients are good, the cooking methods are very limited, making it difficult to make a satisfying taste. Oh, senior brother Su made it, it must taste good. Mu Qing said with a slight smile, and turned around to prepare the dishes and chopsticks very naturally. She didn't feel at all that there was anything wrong with Suliang's behavior of patting her on the head just now. While preparing the bowls and chopsticks, Mu Qingqian sighed, I didn't expect that senior brother Su would carry kitchen utensils with him when he went out. Even many women may not have this level of care. After all, there are many inconveniences when walking outside, but you don't often encounter inns. If you are in the wild, if you want to eat well, you must have the necessary things. Su Liang responded with a smile, scooped up the boiling food in the pot with a spoon, tasted a little, and nodded with satisfaction. Okay, let's start dinner. After preparing everything, Mu Qingqian looked at the table full of delicacies including 3 meat dishes, 2 vegetable dishes and 2 soup dishes in front of her, with a hint of anticipation in her beautiful eyes. Eat quickly. Su Liang smiled and picked up a piece of ferocious beast meat with chopsticks and put it into Mu Qingqian's bowl. The two of them were seriously injured and had not recovered from their previous secret techniques. They had consumed too much energy and blood, so they needed food to replenish them. To be honest, although it seems that Su Liang has done a lot, Su Liang himself feels that these may not be enough. Of course, in normal times, as immortal cultivators, they naturally do not need to eat too much food. Okay, let me try Brother Su's craftsmanship. Mu Qingqian nodded and picked up the crispy and soft piece of ferocious beast meat in the bowl. This piece of ferocious beast meat is taken from the most essence part of a rare and powerful ferocious beast. After being soaked with true spiritual energy for a long time, it not only tastes excellent, but the spiritual energy and blood contained in it can also nourish the body and accelerate the recovery of injuries. With the tip of his nose twitching, Mu Qing took a gentle sniff, and a strong, authentic aroma of food hit his face, making people intoxicated. Putting the food into his mouth, he chewed it gently. Mu Qingqian, the goddess who had always been aloof and arrogant, seemed to be aloof from the world. At this moment, she was also amazed by Su Liang's cooking skills. She couldn't help but her eyes lit up and she spoke inarticulately, "Okay, it's delicious. Senior brother Su is a great cook. If it tastes good, eat more." Su Liang chuckled, and dotingly put all the best and most delicious parts of the food into Mu Qingqian's bowl. At this time, Mu Qingqian didn't care about image or politeness at all. She just stuffed food into her mouth with chopsticks. Soon, her cheeks bulged like a hamster, chewing, and after a while, she swallowed again, showing a happy smile. Smile. As the food was eaten, the spiritual energy and blood in the food nourished Mu Qingqian's body. This dual enjoyment of her lips, teeth, and body made her shiver, and she felt even more happy eating. At this time, Su Liang pointed to the corner of his mouth and shouted softly, "Junior sister Mu, here, here." To be honest, Su Liang actually wanted to remind Mu Qingqian to pay attention to the residue at the corner of her mouth. However, Mu Qingqian seemed to have misunderstood. "Big brother, no," senior brother Su pointed at his lips. "Could it be that he wanted me to kiss him? But this is inappropriate, right?" "Yes, senior brother Su did save me twice. Not only did he share with me the secret method of rapid healing, he also made such delicious food for me, but, in the end, do you want to agree?" Thinking in his mind, Mu Qingqian's body moved closer to Su Liang unconsciously. Looking strangely at Mu Qingqian who was getting closer, Su Liang blinked. Seeing that Mu Qingqian couldn't understand what he meant, he simply stretched out his hand and gently wiped away the residue on Mu Qingqian's lips. Seeing Su Liang's movements, Mu Qingqian immediately stopped. "So, is senior brother Su asking me to pay attention to this? This is really..." For a moment, Mu Qingqian couldn't tell what her mood was. It was very complicated. Volume 1 Chapter 306, The Grieving and Angry Holy Son, how can you still open your eyes after seeing all the other people's bodies? And at the same time, Tao Yao Yao, who was with Qin Binjiao, suddenly trembled, and a chill enveloped her, making her feel extremely uncomfortable. Could it be that someone is spying on me or plotting against me? Tao Yao frowned and thought carefully, sensing, but for a long time, she could not find the source of the coldness and discomfort. So, she had to give up temporarily. It is said that there is telepathy between twins. Even if they are separated since childhood, even if they are thousands of miles apart, the feelings of one will always be sensed by the other. After eating and drinking, Sul Yang and Mu Qingqian rested for a while, and practiced for a while, refining the spiritual power and blood in the previous food, nourishing themselves, and allowing their injuries to heal a little more. Then they got up together, planning to explore this area. Primitive ancient forest. Walking in the ancient forest, the tall trees block out the sky and the sun, and are covered with green moss. The ground under your feet is soft, and the tree roots emerging from the ground are crisscrossing, revealing a sense of vicissitudes of life everywhere. While observing the situation in the ancient forest, Mu Qingqian compared it with her own memory. After a long time, she frowned slightly and said, "Brother Su, this ancient forest is very strange, with vicissitudes of life everywhere. It has obviously existed for a long time. However, in my memory, I don't remember the existence of this ancient forest at all. That is to say, this is an area that does not exist in the world in my memory." Hearing this, Sul Yang raised his eyebrows, feeling that things were a little tricky. He originally planned to explore and find a way back, but now he doesn't even know where he is. How can he go back? And just then, Mu Qingqian suddenly pointed to a place and said in a surprised voice, "Senior brother Su, look at that." When Sul Yang heard Mu Qingqian's voice and turned his head to look over, he saw that Mu Qingqian had already run to a fruit tree, looking at the fruits on the tree, his eyes full of joy. Walking to Mu Qingqian's side, Sul Yang asked curiously, "What is this?" Sul Yang also knew many treasures of heaven and earth, but the appearance of the treasure in front of him was so unfamiliar that Sul Yang couldn't recognize it at all. If it weren't for the strange fluctuations faintly exuding from it, Sul Yang might have ignored it. This is an extinct spiritual fruit called the red heart fruit. Because she had found a spiritual fruit that had been impossible to obtain for a long time, she had a great opportunity. With a faint smile on her face, Mu Qingqian explained, "In this spiritual fruit, there is the power to refine the Taoist heart, which can make people's Taoist heart clarity, like an unborn child, is a rare spiritual fruit that can have an effect on the Taoist mind, so it is extremely popular and has been harvested to extinction long ago. It's really a God-given opportunity to encounter this magical spiritual fruit here." Hearing this, Sul Yang nodded, quite agreeing with this. Unexpectedly, Mu Qingqian's luck is also surprisingly good. This kind of luck of being able to encounter a small opportunity just out of the house is almost as good as his own wife, right? After putting away the spiritual fruits, Sul Yang and Mu Qingqian continued to move forward to explore this ancient forest. But not long after he walked out, Mu Qingqian opened the cover of a huge leaf and saw a familiar figure. "Son!" Mu Qingqian shouted in surprise. Ever since she woke up, saw Sul Yang, and couldn't find the Holy Sun anywhere, she subconsciously thought that the Holy Sun didn't follow the two of them here. Unexpectedly, the Holy Sun actually came. And, looking at the appearance of the Holy Child at this moment, her white robe was already in some tatters, her body was covered with bloodstains and hideous wounds, the vitality in her body was weak, and her energy was like a gossamer. It was obvious that she had been seriously injured. Not only that, Mu Qingqian could clearly see that there were numerous traps around the Holy Sun. Some of them she didn't care about and could be avoided, but the remaining ones made even Mu Qingqian feel terrified at this moment. Not to mention the Holy Sun who is among them. "How are you?" Mu Qingqian asked with concern and loudly. Seeing that the Holy Sun did not reply, she felt a little anxious and said hurriedly, "Hold on, don't move, I will find a way to save you right now." Perhaps Mu Qingqian was focused on the safety of the Holy Sun at the moment. At this moment, She was completely unaware of the slowly approaching tentacles that had opened behind her. The body of this tentacle is a different species of piranha, and everything that appears in front of Mu Qingqian's eyes at this moment is actually a false illusion. This is a mimic hunting of a different species of piranha. And Mu Qingqian was the prey that entered it. After calling the Holy Sun, Mu Qingqian looked around, looking for Suliang's figure, and also looking for someone who could help her at this time. And while Mu Qingqian was looking for it, the open tentacles were getting closer and closer to Mu Qingqian. Seeing that the tentacles had entered a charging posture, it was obvious that they were about to launch an attack. Mu Qingqian still had no idea about this. And at this critical moment, break. A soft drink sounded, and then, Suliang appeared next to Mu Qingqian, his eyes flashed, his double pupils opened, and a green light emerged, breaking through the illusion here. Then, the pupil technique took action, killing the alien in an instant piranha. At the same time, Suliang pulled Mu Qingqian into his arms, held her tightly, and used his body to completely protect her from any harm. Seeing Suliang, who suddenly appeared like a divine soldier descending from the sky, saved her again, and even protected her carefully, Mu Qingqian felt her heart pounding, her pretty face turned red as if on fire, and her heartbeat was beating fast. A lot. Pursing her red lips, Mu Qingqian took the initiative to lean into Suliang's arms, resting her little head on Suliang's chest. Listening to Suliang's steady heartbeat and feeling Suliang's breath, her restless heart gradually calmed down. Calm down. She has discovered that as long as Suliang is around, she will feel at ease. It seems that all conspiracies and harms have nothing to do with him. The person holding him at this moment will definitely protect himself and block all harm. After killing the alien piranha, breaking through the illusion, and confirming the lie of the serious injury to the Holy Sun, Suliang and Mu Qingqian rested for a while, calmed down, and then continued to move forward. Soon, the two of them passed through layers of dense forest, only to feel that their eyes suddenly opened up. See. Deep in the dense forest, there is a ground where only green grass grows, and in the center of this clearing is a quiet lakeside. Without the obstruction of trees, the sunlight finally shines in and shines on the lake, making the lake shimmer with sparkling light. After walking a few steps, she arrived at the lakeside. Mu Qingqian squatted down and saw that the lake was so clear that she could directly see the bottom of the lake. She reached in and felt the perfect temperature of the water, which was warmed by the sun. A smile appeared on her lips unconsciously. Senior brother Su. Mu Qingqian turned to look at Suliang, but said a little shyly, I finally came across the water source. I want to take a bath. Hearing this, Suliang looked Mu Qingqian up and down. After several battles in the Dragon Cave, he was beaten up by Zimei after he came out, and he couldn't live peacefully in this ancient forest. At this moment, Mu Qingqian did feel a little dirty. But after all, she was originally extremely beautiful and aloof, so there was nothing wrong with her. My villain wants to clear his name, but he awakens Cao Thief Simulator. Author, Fangzone Womeng. Chapter 328. However, after all, it was Mu Qingqian's little wish, how could Suliang refuse? Okay. Suliang nodded, and then said considerately, Junior sister, you can take a bath in peace while I observe the surroundings again. Say it. Suliang turned and left. Looking at Suliang's leaving figure, Mu Qingqian felt warm in her heart, and her favorability towards Suliang could not stop increasing. Senior brother Su took the initiative to observe the surroundings. He must be on guard for me, and he didn't want to embarrass me, right? Senior brother Su is really considerate and gentle. In fact, senior brother Su doesn't need to leave. It's not like I can't wash with senior brother Su. Thinking in her mind, Mu Qingqian showed a gentle smile on her lips, and humming a tune in her mouth, Mu Qingqian untied her shirt and gently stepped into the water. Feeling the warm water washing over her body, Mu Qingqian narrowed her eyes in comfort. Available immediately. She lowered her head and looked at her exquisite, well-developed figure. It seems a little smaller than Benjao's. Mu Qingqian dragged a pair of proud peaks on her chest with her hands, her expression quite tangled. In the past, the righteous goddess had always had no emotions. She had no other thought except to slay demons and protect the Tao. How could she care about her figure? This was the first time she paid attention to her figure. But, pouting, Mu Qingqian patted her back again, feeling even more confused. I don't know if senior brother Su will like it. It should be possible, right? In the quiet lake, the girl murmured softly, her spring heart budding. After leaving Mu Qingqian's side, Suliang wandered around in the forest, and soon found another stream. This stream is much smaller than the previous lake, but the water is extremely clear. Under the surging water, waves of moist and cool breath are passed on, which makes it a good place for bathing. Walking slowly to the edge of the stream, Suliang reached out and stirred in the stream. Feeling the slightly cool water, he nodded with satisfaction and planned to freshen up a little. Now that I have this opportunity, I can't miss it. I don't know how long it will take to go back, so I have to stay fresh. But right now... Wow! There was a sound of water flowing, and Suliang looked up, and then his whole body froze. I saw. In the stream, a beautiful shadow suddenly floated up. Her long hair fell down her beautiful back, but part of it fell to the front, covering the proud peak that had grown up in the weather. Her face was extremely beautiful, and her skin was ice white, with a faint pink feeling. The water slides and falls on the white skin, but it adds a bit of softness and charm to the beautiful figure. The peerless beauty is bathing in radiance. This person is none other than the Holy Sun. Wiping off the water droplets on his face, the Holy Sun held the other arm with his slender hand. The arm was just across the body, blocking the proud peak, but it still could not block the slender neck and flat and smooth belly. The bath after the battle is so comfortable. The Holy Sun murmured softly to himself. Because of the bath, her pretty face was slightly red and had a pink feeling, which gave her a lot of femininity. This is the sun? Suliang blinked and wanted to turn his head away, but he felt that his head might not be in control. When she got along with the Holy Child before, Suliang felt that the Holy Child would definitely be a peerless beauty. Unfortunately, wearing men's clothes gave her a bit more heroism and concealed a bit of femininity. But now, the charming Holy Sun was far more stunning and alluring than Suliang imagined. And just when Suliang was lost in thought, the Holy Sun seemed to feel Suliang's gaze and turned his head subconsciously. Immediately afterwards, the Holy Sun was completely stunned. Taking a bath by himself, Suliang saw everything. I have been exposed. He lowered his head and looked at most of his exposed body, then looked up at the absent-minded Suliang. The Holy Sun squatted down silently, his pretty face suddenly turned cold. How dare you come to spy on me while I'm bathing, seeking death? But before the Holy Sun could get angry, Suliang's reaction was unexpected. I saw. Suliang came back to his senses immediately, and then he concentrated his attention and opened his eyes again. In an instant, a strange light flashed in his eyes, becoming as deep as an abyss, seeming to carry people from the inside out. The power to see through everything. Moment. The Holy Sun was furious and yelled angrily, Suliang, what are you doing? You just peeked at the Holy Sun bathing, but you dared to turn on the pupil technique to see. Do you think that because you saved this Holy Sun twice, this Holy Sun will not kill you? Just wait for me, I will remember this grudge. At this moment, the Holy Sun wanted to look up at the sky with his hands on his hips, showing off his arrogance, but considering that he was naked, even the clear stream might not be able to cover him. Liang saw the light. So, just give up. Facing the furious Holy Sun, Suliang turned his head slightly and said helplessly, "You can't blame me. This ancient forest is very weird. I have to make sure you are real." Bah, bah, bah. The Holy Sun was still angry and didn't believe Suliang's explanation at all. He just cursed, "You are a scumbag and a pervert. You dare to use the pupil technique to spy on this Holy Sun. Do you think that this Holy Sun will believe your sophistry? Suliang, just wait for death. When this Holy Sun comes out of the water, I will strangle you to death. Even if Qing Qian pleads for you, it will be useless. You are a scumbag and do not deserve to live in this world. This Holy Sun is doing this for Qing Qian's good. You are such a scumbag and a pervert. Since you dare to spy on this Holy Sun bathing, you will naturally spy on Qing Qian as well. Humph, I won't let Qing Qian mess up your vicious hands." Shashasha. There was a sound of footsteps, and then, while combing the hair on her head, Mu Qing Qian walked through the ancient forest, came to Suliang, and asked curiously, "Senior brother Su, have you encountered any trouble? I can hear your movements from all over the lakeside." As soon as he finished speaking, Mu Qing Qian turned around and saw the Holy Sun, whose entire body was immersed in the stream, with only his head exposed. Volume 1 Chapter 307 Mu Qing Qian, Senior Brother's women are all top-notch. Next moment. Before the Holy Sun happily greeted Mu Qing Qian looked wary and quickly pulled Suliang back a few steps. "Senior Brother Su, be careful. What we see may not be true. We need to confirm her authenticity first. Fake, let's get close to her again. What exactly is going on?" "That's it, Suliang. This scum pervert wanted to spy on me, so he naturally had to think of a good reason, but why did Qing Qian react the same way as Suliang?" At this moment, everyone in the Holy Sun was numb. Raising his arm, the Holy Sun pointed at Mu Qing Qian tremblingly. His red lips trembled and he was speechless. After a while, puff. The Holy Sun let it out in one breath, and he was so angry that he fainted on the spot. Losing the support of his strength, the Holy Sun sank into the water, and then floated up again on his stomach. His entire back was exposed. His smooth and beautiful back, the round and straight part behind him, and his long and beautiful legs were all exposed. Looking at the Holy Sun in the floating corpse stream, Suliang and Mu Qing Qian looked at each other, feeling a little embarrassed. "Well, now it's definitely true. Where am I? Who I am? Why am I here? Well, my head hurts so much, my chest feels so tight, and I feel so angry." The Holy Sun opened her eyes, and the meager light dispelled the darkness in front of her, making her couldn't help but squint her eyes. After a while, when she finally opened her eyes, a face that made her teeth itch appeared in front of her. "Hey, are you awake?" Suliang approached the Holy Sun and greeted with a smile. "Suliang." Shenzi's chaotic consciousness suddenly woke up. Without saying a word, she didn't even care about the injuries in her body that had not yet healed. She jumped up on the spot and punched Suliang. The wind roared with this fist, which was extremely fast and incredibly powerful. It faintly exploded the air, creating a detonating cloud, and circles of ripples appeared from the side of her fist. "Hiss, she is serious." Suliang reacted immediately and jumped to the side to avoid the Saint Sun's almost fatal punch. Boom! A punch blasted out, and the punch wind roared past, causing Suliang's face to hurt. Immediately afterwards, the ancient trees stretching for miles in Suliang's original position were wiped out by this punch, and countless ferocious beasts among them died on the spot. This punch actually forced a passage. At this time, Mu Qing Qian finally reacted and quickly jumped forward, pulling the Holy Sun. "Listen to my explanation, things are not what you think. Senior brother Su is innocent." "Why explain?" The Holy Sun was furious. "Let me punch this scumbag to death." "Stop it. Qing Qian pulled Shenzi to prevent him from taking any more action, and explained, "Senior brother Su and I did encounter a false illusion just now. It was you who was seriously injured in that illusion. I almost got hit at that time, but I didn't find anything. If senior brother Su had not taken action, I would have been seriously injured right now." After experiencing a strange piranha incident, Sul Yang and Mu Qingqian were naturally a lot more cautious. Since there are all kinds of piranha, it is unclear how many strange and weird existences there are in this ancient forest, so be careful. It is as it should be. But Shenzi didn't believe Mu Qingqian's words at all. She turned to glare at Mu Qingqian, with a touch of sadness in her eyes. "Qingqian, you and I have been friends for decades. Although we have been fighting back and forth, but I know that you have me in your heart. Now, you have teamed up with Sul Yang to deceive me for this perverted scumbag. I am so sad." Listening to the Holy Sun's words, Sul Yang couldn't help but twitch the corner of his mouth. "You, the Taoist saint, and Mu Qingqian are not even 10 years old, so why have we only been friends for decades? Empty friendship?" Immediately, seeing that the Holy Sun did not believe in him at all, Sul Yang sighed, decisively said what was in his heart, "Holy Sun, to be honest, you are not attractive to me at all from your figure to your appearance. Okay. When I have this time to peek at you, I might as well think about my wife, even junior sister Qingqian, who is more attractive than you. So, you don't have to worry. I really have no intention of visiting you. After all, you are so attractive that I won't risk my reputation by taking a peek." After saying these words, I didn't expect that the Holy Sun would become even more irritable. "No way, you lied." The Holy Sun felt hoarse and his body was constantly restless. Even Mu Qingqian couldn't suppress it. He pointed at Sul Yang and scolded, "Okay, you, I thought that although you coveted Qingqian, but he is a decent person, but I didn't expect you to be so evil. It was just a matter of peeking at this Holy Sun." After being caught by this Holy Sun and exposed, not only did he refuse to fight and accept punishment, but he also belittled this Holy Sun. You are shameless and you are obscene." Mu Qingqian on the side, when Sul Yang was speaking, heard the last word, her pretty face turned red and her eyes sparkled. When the Holy Sun finished speaking, Mu Qingqian directly grabbed the Holy Sun, carefully echoed and helped Sul Yang explain, "Holy Sun, what senior brother Su said is indeed true. Master and I lived together in senior brother Su's house before. I have seen all the female relatives in senior brother Su's family, and they are all top-notch. In terms of appearance, senior Wan Qing and Bing Yao are on par with you, and even surpass you. Age is not an advantage for you in front of Bing Yao and Chao Ji. Even in terms of figure, senior sister Tan, senior Wan Qing, and sister Wan Yu, and much more than you. So, you can't compare to me in any way. Senior brother Su really has no reason to be tempted by you." Hearing this, the Holy Sun was so angry that his teeth itched. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. My villain wants to clear his name, but he awakens Cao Thief Simulator. Author, Fangzone Womeng. Chapter 329. I'm really sorry that I can't compare to the women of Sul Yang's family. Although I usually wear men's clothes, I also care about my appearance. Qingqian, you and I have been friends for decades, why do you humiliate me like this? And Sul Yang, are you going to piss me off to death? Snort. The Holy Sun snorted coldly and stopped looking at Mu Qingqian and Sul Yang. He simply turned his head away without saying a word and began to grind his teeth in anger. See this? Mu Qingqian and Sul Yang looked at each other and chuckled. Okay, hurry up and heal your wounds. After finally coaxing the Holy Sun, Mu Qingqian took the Holy Sun's hand and said softly, This ancient forest is full of dangers and strange mysteries. Our injuries must recover quickly, otherwise, we may die sooner or later here. Upon hearing this, the Holy Son nodded, and he agreed in his heart. Knowing that this was not his time to mess around, he reluctantly nodded, okay, let's protect each other and recover from our injuries as quickly as possible. Unexpectedly, Mu Qingqian shook her head, looked at Sul Yang, smiled softly, and then said something that stunned her. Senior brother Su has a dual cultivation method that can quickly recover injuries, and the effect is very good. Although it's a dual practice, but theoretically speaking, it's also very effective if 3 people practice together, so let's practice together as 3 people. What nonsense are you talking about? The Holy Son immediately interrupted Mu Qingqian and looked at her with a devastated expression. I'm just recovering from my injuries, doesn't it have to be like this? Mu Qingqian, I know why you always defend Sul Yang and have such a tacit understanding with him. It turns out that you two have had this kind of relationship for a long time, but you don't need to involve me too, right? Have you fallen this far? But as soon as he finished speaking, the Holy Son was brutally slapped in the face. Mu Qingqian glanced sideways at the Holy Son, and without saying a word, handed the technique to the Holy Son, allowing the Holy Son to comprehend it on his own. He opened the book with doubt, and soon, the Holy Son read it again, with a trace of confusion in his eyes. This double cultivation method is so serious. Using the yin and yang of men and women as conductors, borrowing the yin and yang of heaven and earth for one's own use, this technique seems to be more righteous than the Deus Ex Major techniques. As a Taoist saint, she still has this in her eyes. This technique is very powerful. Looking at Sul Yang and then at Mu Qingqian, the Holy Son was speechless in response to what he had just said. With such a serious technique and such powerful power, there is really no fault in it. Seeing the Holy Son's sincere expression, Sul Yang couldn't help but joked, this kind of dual cultivation method is really too dirty and filthy. It must not be able to get into the eyes of the Holy Son. What, does the Holy Son still want to practice with us? After hearing this, the Holy Son felt his face burning hot. With his pretty face turning red, he felt ashamed and did not dare to look up at Sul Yang. Time passed, and after the 3 of them practiced and healed their injuries, it soon became night. Sul Yang took out a set of kitchen utensils that he had used when cooking before, and made dinner quickly. Moving to the other side, Mu Qingqian used her sword skills to carve out 3 chairs and a table, and sat down in front of the table impatiently, waiting for Sul Yang to prepare dinner, her eyes full of anticipation. Having tasted Sul Yang's craftsmanship before, Mu Qingqian would never forget the fragrance on her lips and teeth. She couldn't wait any longer. The Holy Son, who was sitting next to Mu Qingqian, looked at Mu Qingqian's little feet tapping the ground, his body trembling slightly, looking like he couldn't calm down at all with anticipation, and he was a little confused. Qingqian, what are you doing? What? Of course I'm waiting for Senior Brother Su's dinner. Mu Qingqian said happily, Senior Brother Su's craftsmanship is so good. I didn't eat enough that time before. I must eat enough tonight. Laugh. Hearing this, the Holy Son sneered and sneered at this. Sul Yang? How could a shameless scum like him have any good skills? Even though the dual cultivation techniques he gave himself were very orthodox, he had peeked at himself after all and could not change his scumbag and perverted nature. Furthermore, if he can reach the realm of immortality at the age of 10, he must have been practicing and fighting all his life. How can he have time to practice cooking skills? Impossible. Thinking in his mind, the Holy Son said unconsciously, I don't believe that this shameless Sul Yang has any skills. Qingqian, you love the house and the bird. If you like him, you think everything about him is good. The food he cooks must be bitter, salty, and unpalatable. Even if I starve to death and jump from here, I won't be able to eat a bite of his food. But as soon as she finished speaking, she smelled a strong aroma of rice. Volume 1 # Chapter 308 Forget it about cultivating the third level, you will still be given dog food. This is a special meaty aroma, with a rich fragrance, but it doesn't smell greasy at all. Instead, it makes people feel appetizing, their taste buds are aroused, and their index fingers move. If I were in the sect, I could eat 5 bowls of rice with this delicious fragrance. Thinking silently in his heart, the Holy Son met Mukinkian's gaze. Still don't want to eat Senior Brother Su's food? Mu Qingqian asked with a teasing smile. Gilug. Swallowing unconsciously, the Holy Son shook his head with difficulty. What, you can jump from here without even taking a bite? No, no, it's such a delicious thing, it's a loss if you don't eat it. Well, I really want to. After a while, the food was served. Considering that the 3 of them had practiced for a long time today and spent too much energy and blood to heal their injuries, Suliang naturally cooked a lot more food. Although the quantity is not large, each dish is a big plate full. Ordinary people may not be able to finish even this plate, and they will be too full to eat anything. After the food was served, Mu Qingqian hesitated for a moment, then picked up a piece of meat and handed it to Suliang's mouth. Brother Su, thank you for your hard work. You eat first, ah. Seeing Mu Qingqian feeding him, Suliang blinked, opened his mouth without thinking, ah. After the delicacy entered his mouth, Suliang nodded with satisfaction. He felt that the taste was really good. It seemed that his craftsmanship had improved again. Seeing that Suliang was eating happily, Mu Qingqian also laughed happily. Then she picked up some more dishes and stuffed all the best parts of each dish into Suliang's bowl. Then, I happily ate it by myself. He didn't realize at all that Suliang had also used the chopsticks in his hands just now. And after eating a few bites, seeing the oil stains on the corner of Suliang's mouth, Mu Qingqian blushed, but without too much hesitation, she took out the silk scarf, approached Suliang with her slender hands, and said in a soft voice, Senior Brother Su, you, don't move. The words fell. Taking advantage of Suliang's pause, he gently wiped away the oil stains from the corners of Suliang's mouth with a silk scarf, and said softly, Senior Brother Su, eat more slowly. Look, the corners of his mouth are stained with oil stains. Seeing Mu Qingqian doing these intimate gestures very naturally, Shenzi beside him felt like he couldn't even eat. Suliang's craftsmanship is really good. He makes seemingly ordinary things so crispy and delicious that you can't stop eating them. But, seeing the man and woman in front of him being so intimate, Shenzi felt that he was already full, as if he had already eaten a lot of dog food. Looking at Mu Qingqian suspiciously, Shenzi said, Qingqian, you are so kind to Suliang, feeding and wiping your mouth, just like a little wife, such an intimate thing, even if you are the same person, woman, I have never seen you do this to anyone. You and Suliang can't really. Before she finished speaking, Mu Qingqian stopped her immediately, okay, stop talking. Immediately. Mu Qingqian glanced at Suliang cautiously, like a girl whose thoughts had been exposed, and shyly looked away, lowered her head, her pretty face flushed, but with a sweet smile on her lips. Perhaps even she herself didn't notice the smile. At this moment, Mu Qingqian only felt a little ashamed in her heart. Although Qin Benjiao is considered to be a generation below her, she usually gets along with Qin Benjiao, who is of the same generation, and Qin Benjiao also regards her as a friend. However, she treated the man who was her friend like this. Not only did she fall in love with him, but she also behaved so intimately with him. Isn't it unethical to do this yourself? Would Benjiao mind if she was so close to her elder brother? Humph, I don't care about others, I only care about my brother. At the same time. Aju. Qin Benjiao sneezed and rubbed her nose, feeling a little confused. At this time, She had just rushed back to Shengjing to join her master. Although the contact with her husband has been severed, Qin Binjiao somehow feels that her husband is safe and happy. So Lang Jun must be safe, right? Qin Binjiao thought in her mind and fell into deep thought. While recovering from their injuries, Sul Yang and the other three have also been exploring this ancient forest, trying to find out their current location. With the cultivation of Sul Yang and the others in the immortality realm, as long as their injuries are almost recovered and their strength will not be affected, the dangers in this ancient forest are not a big deal to them. Then, in a short time, Sul Yang and the other three lay flat on their backs in the ancient forest and explored the end of the ancient forest. This is. Looking at the scene outside the ancient forest, the Holy Sun looked a little solemn. This is the turbulence of time and space, so, we are in a chaotic time and space zone. Hearing this, Sul Yang looked at the Holy Sun in confusion. What is the chaotic space-time zone? The Holy Sun shook his head. I don't know much about this matter, but at least I can determine our location. As he spoke, the Holy Sun sighed and took a few steps back to prevent himself from being involved in the turbulence of time and space. Then he said, this is actually a small world that has been separated. It is not what you and I know. In the world, so in the world in our memory, there is no such ancient forest. Then can we still go back? Mu Qingqian asked, pointing to the essence of the problem. I can go back, but I don't know how. The Holy Sun shook his head. If we want to go back, we must enter the turbulent flow of time and space, travel through this chaotic time and space zone, locate our world, and penetrate the space. To be honest, I don't even know if my master can achieve this kind of ability, let alone us. In other words, how to go back is a question. Sul Yang thought about it and felt a headache. With the current physical strength of the three of them, it is obviously unrealistic to cross the turbulence of time and space. After all, he felt the crisis of destruction just now when he was just close. In other words, if they want to go back, they have to use the method they used to directly distort time and space when they came here? After thinking about this, Sul Yang's eyes lit up and he thought of a way. Maybe I have a way to get us back. Sul Yang said, and after seeing that he attracted the attention of Mu Qingqian and Shenzi, he continued, the reason why we are here is because my pupil technique is too powerful and distorts time and space. In this case, I then use the pupil technique again to distort time and space. Maybe we can go back. After Sul Yang unlocked the third level of the Emperor's double eyes, the power of the 10,000 years eye technique was indeed powerful, far exceeding the upper limit of the immortal realm, and could even distort time and space. This is why the three of them came here. Got here. According to Sul Yang's idea, theoretically speaking, if he casts 1,000 years eye again, he might really be able to go back. Hearing Sul Yang's words, the Holy Sun's eyes lit up. That makes sense, let's do it. Quickly use the pupil technique and take us back. My villain wants to clear his name, but he awakens Cao Thief Simulator. Author, Fangzone Womeng. Chapter 330. However, Sul Yang shook his head helplessly. No, my pupil technique is extremely powerful, so it consumes a lot of money. I used it before because it was just unsealed, but now, I can't restore the power of the pupil technique immediately. How long it takes? The Holy Sun asked crisply. Well, if there is no huge amount of energy poured into it, it will take a long time. Sul Yang thought for a moment. The 10,000-year power of a glance is too powerful, and it is not something he can control in his current state. Therefore, if Sul Yang uses it once, it will take a long time to recover the huge energy accumulation. Even Sul Yang himself couldn't predict this time. What should we do? The Holy Sun frowned. As the Holy Sun of the Dao sect, she was extremely important and could not disappear for too long. She really couldn't bear to stay in this small world for too long. There is a way. Suliang thought about it carefully before saying, theoretically speaking, my double cultivation method can also help to accumulate energy quickly. Therefore, we only need to continue the 3 cultivation methods, and maybe we can accumulate this energy over time, compressed to an extremely short length. Like the Holy Sun, Suliang didn't want to stay in this small world at all. He came here without saying a word. In front of his ladies, he was afraid that he would die. Suliang didn't want to wait until he went back to find out that something happened to his ladies because of him. In that case, Suliang would never forgive himself. At this time, Mu Qingqian approached Suliang, gently pulled Suliang's sleeve, and said with a smile, "Senior brother Su, I will cooperate with you." Smiling and nodding, Suliang looked at the Holy Sun. "How about it? Do you want to practice together?" "Okay, okay." After struggling for a long time, the Holy Sun finally nodded and agreed. Although the exercise method was very serious, the Holy Sun was still very resistant to practicing with Suliang. Not to mention that this exercise is a dual cultivation method, just the very comfortable feeling when practicing made her feel very uncomfortable. But there is no way, the situation is stronger than the person. If she wants to go back, she must practice with Suliang. What can she do? Then the 3 of them found a safe and private place and began to practice together. The palms touched and felt the warmth from Suliang's hands. The Holy Sun bit his red lips lightly, feeling very uncomfortable in his heart. "Why do you have to practice like this with Suliang?" And immediately after, when the pure and turbid chi of heaven and earth poured into her body. Well, the feeling that was so comfortable that the Holy Sun almost groaned. He quietly opened his eyes and glanced at Suliang and Mu Qingqian, who were still concentrating on their cultivation. The Holy Sun felt even more uncomfortable. When will this kind of cultivation come to an end? Not only was he uncomfortable while practicing, Shenzi felt that he had been very uncomfortable these past few days. Who can bear it when someone abuses their dog every day? Even if the person who abuses the dog is his best friend, no, it should be. It is precisely because the person who abuses the dog is his best friend that I feel uncomfortable. What is it like to watch a righteous goddess become a little woman? The Holy Sun said that he could no longer eat it. After practicing, Suliang was cooking. Mu Qingqian was waiting beside Suliang, her smiling eyes constantly focused on Suliang, and she couldn't bear to let him go even if she blinked. Seeing Suliang turn around, Mu Qingqian immediately picked up the thing and handed it to Suliang's hand. "Senior brother Su, here it is." Suliang took the things from Mu Qingqian's hands very naturally and said with a smile, "Thank you, junior sister." Before going to bed at night, Mu Qingqian took the initiative to clean the surrounding environment, filled the campfire with firewood, and quietly looked at Suliang aside. Seeing that Suliang did not look at her, she quietly moved her bed to Suliang's side. Liang moved over. However, Mu Qingqian then shouted, "Senior brother Su, everything is packed. You can rest now." "Okay." Suliang smiled and nodded. "Junior sister Mu is so considerate, thank you." "Hey hey." Listening to Suliang's compliment, Mu Qingqian laughed happily. Finally, seeing that the goddess was quickly reduced to a little woman, the Holy Sun couldn't bear it anymore and was really angry, so he called her aside and taught her, "Qingqian, I know you like that Suliang, but you can't spoil him so much. You have to feed him when he eats, pour him water when he's thirsty, and even make his bed when he sleeps. Aren't you too shameless?" "But I didn't expect it." Mu Qingqian took it for granted and retorted to her, "Senior brother Su is our savior, and he saved us twice. Why don't we take care of him? What you said is really right." Facing Mu Qingqian's divine logic, the Holy Sun was speechless and unable to refute. Then, Mu Qingqian encouraged again, "Look, Senior brother Su has saved us twice. Shouldn't we take care of her together? You must think clearly. Senior brother Su is very kind to us. If you don't repay us now, it will be difficult to repay him in the future. What you said makes sense, and I also think I should be with you. The Holy Son nodded, as if he was moved by Mu Qingqian's words. But in fact, she just felt that she would not be embarrassed if she and Mu Qingqian took care of Suliang together. Otherwise, I really can't eat anymore. Then, while eating, looking at the delicacies placed in front of him, after thinking for a moment, the Holy Son picked up a piece of food and put it in Suliang's bowl. Here, you eat. This, thank you. Suliang said hesitantly, and looked at the Holy Son in surprise, wondering if this guy's brain was broken again. Before, he looked like he had a deep hatred for himself and wanted to tear himself apart, but now he actually started to take care of himself. Looking at the food in his bowl, Suliang felt a little emotional. This is the care of a dignified Taoist saint, and it always makes people feel uncomfortable. Then, in this normal life, a week goes by quickly. This day, Suliang opened his eyes, and a light suddenly flashed in his eyes. And this also indicates that the recovery of his emperor's double eyes has finally been completed. Are you all ready? Suliang looked at Mu Qingqian and Zhenzi beside him and asked in a deep voice. At this moment, they are in the center of this small world, far away from the chaotic space-time zone that surrounds the hour. In this way, they can avoid the interference of chaotic time and space to the greatest extent. Volume 1 #Picture 309 The Mysterious Shadow on the Long River of Time and Space. After finally recovering De Luo's eyes, Suliang and the other three naturally wanted to return to their original world as soon as possible. Ready? Mu Qingqian and Zhenzi both held onto Suliang's clothes to prevent them from being separated from Suliang while traveling through time and space. Hold the essence and return it to oneness, and stay calm and focused. Suliang warned seriously, we still don't know what will happen in the process of traveling through time and space, so we must stick to our hearts. Clear. Mu Qingqian and Zhenzi nodded in agreement. They did have the experience of traveling through time and space before, but after all, the three of them were in a coma the whole time. It can only be said that they were lucky to reach this world successfully. Therefore, they were completely unaware of everything in the process. Now that you're ready, let's come. Suliang took a deep breath, decisively activated the Emperor Luo Chong pupil, and cast 10,000 years eye. Moment. Click. In this small world, there were continuous broken sounds, followed closely by the constant trembling of the small world. It seemed that even this small world could not withstand the power exerted by Emperor Luo Chongtong. Next moment. Before Suliang and the others could panic, 10,000 years exploded with a single glance, shattering the space-time barrier. Time and space distorted for a while, swallowing Suliang and the others, and then returned to their original state. The whole small world calmed down again, and returned to the silence it had always been. The three people passed through the time and space barrier and shuttled through the gaps in time and space. Although they were awake, their bodies were controlled by a powerful force. It was difficult to even speak. But just at the time of shuttle, the time and space in front of the three people began to become chaotic. Familiar scenes suddenly appeared in Suliang's eyes. The human king with double pupils held a woman with long silver white hair in his arms and said softly, "Don't worry, how can I leave you alone? I don't worry after all." The scene changes, and a young man climbs to the sky step by step, with a sharp sword in his hand. "I want no more immortals in this world." The scene turned again, and peach blossoms were flying all over the sky, stretching for miles. A gentle and elegant man walked across the peach blossom bridge, aiming at the festive wedding scene ahead. This is a picture from the previous simulation world. The chaotic time and space actually overlapped with the scene in the simulated world. From the original double-eyed human king, to the young man who ascended to heaven and killed immortals, to the gentle and elegant Qing Emperor, scenes flashed quickly in front of Sul Yang, allowing Sul Yang to instantly recognize the source of these scenes. As expected, Sul Yang frowned slightly, and he had some guesses in his mind. On the other side, in front of Mu Qingqian, a picture also flashed across his face. In the picture, the Taoist elder sister has been taking care of her junior brother for several years. In front of outsiders, she is a talented, aloof, and arrogant senior sister. But in front of her junior brother, she is just a gentle, soft, and caring senior sister. Unlike Sul Yang, Mu Qingqian directly shifted into the first person when watching the scene in front of him. Senior sister, is it me? Mu Qingqian kept thinking in her heart. The scene in front of her always made her feel familiar and nostalgic. The senior sister is talking to the young man in front of me. Hey, this young man looks like senior brother Su. No, it's not similar, I should say it's exactly the same. It feels like the senior sister is very familiar with this young man, and the relationship must be extraordinary. The eldest sister seems to take good care of this boy. It feels like, the eldest sister said that she treats the boy as a younger brother, but she can't hide the pounding feeling in her heart.